There is a kind of person you have probably met. Maybe you are that person. They are the one who shows up. Always. When your world is falling apart, they are already at your door with answers, with calm, with the quiet certainty that everything will be okay. They carry other people's problems the way some people carry keys, automatically, without thinking, because it just feels like something you're supposed to have on you at all times. And yet, if you ask them how they are doing, really doing, something shifts behind their eyes, a small, almost imperceptible hesitation, and then they smile and redirect. Oh, I'm fine. Let's focus on you. And they mean it, genuinely, because in that moment, helping you feels far more natural than being helped, far more safe. This video is for them, for you, not to fix you, not to diagnose you, but to sit beside you for a few minutes and let you feel, perhaps for the first time, that someone sees exactly what is happening and why. Let's begin where almost everything begins. Childhood. Not necessarily a dramatic childhood, not necessarily one marked by obvious trauma or visible chaos. Sometimes, and this is the part that confuses people most, it is the quiet childhoods that leave the deepest impressions. The ones where nothing terrible happened, but something essential was consistently, gently, invisibly missing. Imagine a child who learns, early on, that the emotional climate of their home depends on them. Maybe one parent struggled with their moods, and the child became extraordinarily sensitive to signs of distress, hypervigilant, scanning rooms the way a sailor watches the sky for weather. Maybe the family operated on an unspoken rule: we do not burden each other. We are strong. We manage. Maybe the child's needs, when expressed, were met not with warmth but with anxiety, dismissal, or exhaustion, and so the child learned, with the quiet efficiency that children are so terrifyingly good at, to stop expressing those needs altogether. What this child discovered, and this is crucial, is that being needed feels safer than being needy. When they helped, there was connection, there was approval, there was a version of love that they could actually hold on to because it was conditional on something they could control. Control was the point. In an environment where your emotional world felt unpredictable, being useful became the one reliable anchor. If I am solving your problem, I am not the problem. If I am keeping you steady, I do not have to feel my own unsteadiness. If I am the one you run to, then I am safe. I belong. I matter. This is not weakness. This is extraordinary intelligence. A child developing this pattern is a child who found a way to survive emotionally in a world that did not consistently make room for them. The mechanism is not complicated once you understand it, but it hides itself well. Psychologists sometimes call it the fixer personality, though that phrase does not quite honor the depth of what it is. It shows up in attachment research, in the literature on anxious and dismissive attachment, in studies of emotional parentification, in the long shadow cast by what researchers call childhood emotional neglect. It is not that these children were unloved. Often they were deeply loved. But love and attunement are not the same thing, and what these children lacked was consistent attunement, someone reliably turning toward their inner world and saying, I see you. Your feelings matter. You are not too much. Without that, the child does not develop a sturdy internal sense of their own worth. Instead, worth becomes something earned, something demonstrated through usefulness. The dopaminergic reward system, the brain's deep circuitry for pleasure and connection, gets calibrated around helping, around solving, around being the person someone needs. The brain learns, this is how you get the good feeling. This is how you stay connected. This is how you stay safe. And so the behavior becomes, in the truest sense of the word, automatic, not chosen, not performed, just the only room in the house that feels familiar. Here is the reframing that changes everything. What looks like generosity from the outside is, on the inside, often a profound act of self-protection. This is not a criticism. It is an act of compassion toward yourself to understand it. Because the moment you see it clearly, the moment you recognize that your compulsion to fix, it's to hold, to carry everyone else, is not purely altruism, but also armor. Something important becomes possible. You stop being confused about why helping exhausts you. You stop wondering why, after years of being the one everyone leans on, you still feel strangely, persistently alone. You begin to understand that armor, however lovingly constructed, keeps out the cold and the warmth equally. Across a life, this pattern evolves in ways that are almost predictable once you know what to look for. In adolescence, the fixer becomes the friend who holds everyone's secrets, who talks people off ledges at 2 a.m., who is somehow always available. They are described as mature for their age, which is often a quiet tragedy dressed as a compliment. They are mature because they learned early to set themselves aside. They become the emotional infrastructure of their social world, the load-bearing wall that everyone leans against but no one thinks to ask, "Are you okay?" In early adulthood, they tend to move into relationships and roles that confirm what they already believe about themselves. They are drawn to people who need them, not always consciously, not always in unhealthy ways, but there is a gravitational pull towards situations where their usefulness is obvious, where they can feel, at last, that sense of earned belonging. They are the partner who takes on more than their share, the colleague who stays late, the sibling who manages every family crisis while everyone assumes they are fine because they are always fine. And beneath all of it, running quiet as an underground current, is the oldest feeling. I cannot ask for help. I do not know how. What if I do and no one comes? What if asking reveals that I am, somehow, too much? What if the people I have loved and carried all this time do not actually want me, only what I provide? That is the fear that lives at the center of this. Not a fear of weakness, a fear of the answer. So they move through the world on a kind of emotional autopilot, responsive to everyone, opaque to themselves. They become so practiced at asking "what do you need" that they lose fluency in the language of their own needs. Not because they don't have them, they do, deeply, but because those needs were never consistently welcomed, and eventually the body stops sending messages that are never received. This is what isolation inside helpfulness looks like. It is not dramatic. It does not announce itself. It is the person at the center of a room full of people who love them, feeling quietly, inexplicably untouched. It is the helper who cries in their car after being kind all day and doesn't entirely know why. It is the one who, if you ask them to describe a moment they felt truly cared for, not appreciated, not needed, but cared for, would have to think for a very long time. There is something worth sitting with here, and it is tender. If you recognize yourself in this, consider what it took. Consider the child who had to build this entire architecture, this elaborate, load-bearing system of usefulness and care, just to feel okay. Consider how hard that child worked, how intelligent they had to be, how attuned to others, how self-controlled, how quietly brave in a way that no one ever fully saw. That child did not fail. That child survived. And the patterns that helped them survive, the hyper-attunement, the compulsive helping, the inability to receive, were not flaws. They were solutions, ingenious, costly, human solutions to a problem that should never have been a child's to solve. And here you are now, still carrying them, still running the same code, in a world that may have changed significantly around you, in relationships that may actually be safe, among people who may actually want to know how you are, really are, and waiting for a version of you that has not yet quite learned how to let them. There is no prescription at the end of this. No 5 steps, no neat resolution, because the truth is, this does not resolve so much as it softens. The fixer does not one day wake up cured of their care for others, and they should not. That care is real, and it is beautiful. The capacity to hold space for people, to sense what they need, to show up consistently and lovingly, these are not disorders. They are gifts. Formed under pressure, yes, like most precious things are, but gifts nonetheless. What shifts, slowly and usually not linearly, is the relationship with one's own interiority. The gradual, fragile, sometimes agonizing practice of treating your own needs as legitimate. Not because someone told you to, not as a strategy, but because somewhere along the way you begin to sense, in your body, not just your mind, that you are also allowed to be someone's home. Not just the person who builds them. You are allowed to need a blanket, not just be one. You are allowed to arrive at someone's door, hollow and uncertain, and say, I am not okay, and I don't know what I need, and I am scared to ask, but I'm asking. You are allowed to be, in the fullest sense, a person, not a function, not a role, not the anchor that keeps everyone else from drifting. You are allowed to drift a little, to be found, to be held. You always were.